I think I'm going to leave now. It's not fair, frankly, to have to come after Pastor Hegy and Jonathan Conricus. So, I know I have somebody watching the clock all the time on me, and I will try to adhere to it as much as possible. But a few months ago, I got an email, I think from Shari Dollinger, and assuming that it was an invitation to come here, I immediately replied, without reading it, "I will be there," only to look later and see that it was about something else. But it didn't matter, because I was going to be here no matter what. If nothing else, to see all the old friends we have made over the last almost 20 years, Pastor, and to be recharged. This is the single most exciting meeting anywhere and everywhere. There is no place that has the electricity, the commitment, the devotion, the sincerity of those of you who are here. And believe me, I go to a lot of meetings each year. A few months ago, I had the privilege of going, together with a CUFI delegation led by Pastor and Diane Hegy, to Auschwitz and Birkenau, where the pastor was invited to be one of the candlelighters, the torchlighters, at the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. A very special gathering, and I know a few of you were there as well. I mention this because I can't speak without first acknowledging the personal relationship, the affection, the devotion, the respect that I have for my pastor and Mrs. Hegy, and the thanks I give to God for them, for Shari, for Sandra Parker, for Matt, for all of the people involved in CUFI, because you have changed the world. In the morning, the first thing that the Jews commanded to say is Moda Ani, which translates to thanks I give. Now you might say, why doesn't it say instead, I give thanks? Because the first words out of our mouths in the morning should not be I. It should be the thanks that we have to give to God for the world we have, for the blessings we have, for the CUFI we have, for the friends we have, for the victories we have. And I thought about that at that most remarkable gathering, the March of the Living, and I know the Heidemans were here. And I hope all of you, before you go to visit it or on your way back, will stop even for a day to visit there. And we went on the march on a beautiful sunny afternoon, and we gathered in Birkenau, near the barracks and near the crematoria. And Pastor Hegy was to be one of the keynote speakers and to be one of the 6 chosen to light a torch in memory of the 6 million. And all of a sudden, the sky started to darken. And a torrential downpour came that was so remarkable. And we, Pastor Hegy and a few of us, went into a little hut behind the stage waiting for it to dissipate, thinking that we would then be able to continue with the program. But unfortunately, and it must have been the collective tears of the millions who died there, that the rain continued to come down. And frankly, it was a very meaningful rain. And ultimately, the program had to be ended. There were 80 survivors there to mark the 80th anniversary, and it was too risky to leave them out in the rain, and then when the lightning came. So the skies opened up, and the downpour was unyielding. And Pastor Hegy was not going to get to speak. But you and I know that's not Pastor Hegy. And all of a sudden, he turned to Diana, and I was standing next to him, and he said, I'm going to give the speech. Even though the audience that was there had left already. And he said, but why should I deprive the much larger audience that has to get the message? And he marched out of there into the torrential rain with an umbrella over him up onto the stage, and he delivered his address so that the people around the world would be able to hear the message from Auschwitz. We all looked in wonderment, a little bit bemusement, but we knew that he had to go to that stage and deliver his powerful words. And while they didn't hear it, the young people who had gathered there and maybe saw it later online, the much larger audience had to hear it no matter how inconvenient. And I will assert to you that when he walked back into that hut, I did not see one drop of rain on him. Now, I don't know what protection you had there, Pastor Hegy, but I think you ought to patent it. This, the largest cemetery, the place where so many perished, young and old, the special character of the Hegys shone brightly there. And it's what has infused CUFI, I believe, with its unique spirit, character, and accomplishments. From there, we went to Israel. And I'm not going to go into the visit and to detail it for you, except to mention an event, a special event that we did at the Great Synagogue in Jerusalem in honor of the pastor's 85th birthday. In the main hall, gathered people from the many organizations that have benefited from your charity and commitment and concern, and some of them even came from Israel and are here with us today. In that hall, there's a wall dedicated in honor of the Hegys that pays tribute to non-Jews who did extraordinary things for Israel and the Jewish people. And it is so fitting that their names sit atop that tribute wall. But if you can have seen all the people who came together to celebrate his birthday, including the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, other people from the government, the great one, Mark Levin, so many others came, and representatives of myriad of organizations that benefited from the support of CUFI and all of you. Every worthwhile cause was represented, along with so many dignitaries and people of importance. But you would not believe it, but the pastor and Mrs. Hegy snuck out at the end for some reason that they said, I don't know, Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted to see them, and somehow you thought that was more important than the kugel we were serving at the Great Synagogue. We have to learn that we should not take anything for granted. It's too easy to fall into that rut, and especially when you come here year after year and you see day after day the wonderful work of CUFI. We certainly cannot take for granted the amazing alliance of the Christian evangelical community and the Jewish community in the United States, largely fashioned by the Hegys and CUFI's work. We have had rough times, but frankly, I think that it was really a test of our commitment to each other. That had it gone so smoothly and easily, we might not have appreciated as much as we do, and the common cause that we seek. A strong America with robust values in keeping with the tradition that this great country has exhibited since its founding, and a commitment to a strong and vital Israel, where biblical prophecy comes to life every day. Every archaeological discovery vindicates the Bible. More than 20,000 discoveries a year, and all consistent with our biblical traditions. We stand against growing forces that deny the Bible, the values, the principles that underlie the Judeo-Christian heritage that we cherish, that inspired all the generations, including the Founding Fathers. We see the attempts to destroy the fundamentals of our faiths, including faith itself, to undermine the family, the protection of our children, to deny education and to distort it, to create a press that is neither free or honest, free of coercion, domestic and foreign. Only this week released another study showing that one of the major news services had been taking money from Iran, and no newspaper would publish it. Who could believe how the body politic in the United States, like much of Europe, could be so corrupted, could be hijacked by extremist forces who seek to impose the very evil that American soldiers have been fighting for centuries, the very principles of America, the things that we are committed to oppose. There is no compromise with evil, and there can be no appeasement. Churchill said, appeasement is feeding the crocodile in the hope that he'll eat you last. We don't want to be eaten last. We want our enemies to be eaten first. Could it be that some cities really want to adopt Sharia law in America? That others seek to adopt a socialist agenda? Why don't they ask the Russian immigrants how great it was to live under the socialist agenda and how they benefited from it? Is it possible that even in New York City, where the Statue of Liberty, I think, has turned its back on it, that a candidate who espouses democratic socialist values, espouses the global intifada, espouses BDS, and says, well, you don't really mean it. A global intifada is a rose garden. To lie and distort and misrepresent, at least if he had the guts to stand up for what he believes. If they knew what it would really mean, ask the executed, tortured, deprived in the countries where these principles rule. See what is happening in Europe and then tell me. We see that this cancer of hate is metastasizing, and they are ignorant of it. They're indifferent to it. They don't care about it. The river to the sea, globalizing the intifada, code words for the destruction of the Jewish state and the Jewish people, that thousands of young people can join at a concert in Britain yesterday yelling death to the IDF, and it's carried by the BBC, is intolerable, but an honest reflection of where we are. Have you even considered that much of what was accomplished in the last few weeks is the result of our collective prayers, of your prayers and charity, that perhaps your prayers guided one of those pilots on a B-2 bomber? Maybe your prayers guided and protected an Israeli pilot on an F-15 or an F-16. Maybe they inscribed a little note from you on that bomb going into Fordo. Do you think it's possible to simply explain what we have witnessed these last weeks in mere press accounts? Really? If we had not gathered a month before, and I would have said to you, ladies and gentlemen, in 12 days, Israel's going to take a country 70 times its size in gross area, 10 times its population, the leading state sponsor of terror, a nuclear nascent power, an entity nation devoted to using its massive oil revenues to destroy the United States, Israel, democracy, freedom, and other Sunni governments, and then achieve domination. If at last year's gathering I would have said that this time in 2025, Israel will have neutralized Hamas, incapacitated Hezbollah, have eliminated Syria's military capacities, and helped break the yoke of Iran, that the militias in Syria and Iraq would be contained, and the vaunted ring of fire that Iran established around Israel has been turned into a hula hoop. Did you think then that the serious calls that engaging more countries into the Abraham Accords, taking steps towards recognition of Israel by more countries, even gaining the respect of enemies would have been possible even while the United Nations issued its daily condemnations and rebukes and issued false reports and false accusations against the state of Israel? Last year, we expressed concern about the actions and threat-filled potential steps by the International Criminal Court, you remember, including promising to indict the Prime Minister of Israel and threatening to arrest him. And the new candidate in New York says that if Netanyahu comes and he's mayor, he will arrest him. By then, I think he will be in jail already. Well, the prosecutor, who so diligently devoted himself to the persecution, not just the prosecution of Netanyahu and Israel, has had to step down because he finds himself at the receiving end of serious charges of improper behavior. A coincidence? I don't think so. And what about all the naysayers who warned you daily, even in the halls of Congress, of how Russia and China will gather to support Iran? The loyal allies of Iran will rise up and we will have World War III. I haven't heard one of them say, you know, I was wrong. Many of those that would have risen up are now rising up to stand with Israel. We know that the panicky articles, the chicken little articles that appear, some as ridiculous as they were false, how they misled and misrepresented and depicted the Middle East in flames from the Gulf to the Mediterranean. The Straits of Hormuz would be sealed, American bases and American troops would be attacked because of this misguided policy. The U.S. would be unwelcome in the region. Right. America was never more respected in the region as it is today, because when America stands by its word, when we stand by our allies, when we stand by our principles, everybody recognizes it and everybody wants to be our friend. How our allies are coming out of the woodwork and saying, you know, we really were with you all of this time. And what about our cute little friends in Europe, who have signed away their own fate already and only want to see us and Israel do the same thing? The gratuitous advice and admonitions from Britain's Labour Party and from France's president, who can't even take a punch from his wife. They're telling Israel what to do to defend itself. As I knew you'd like that line. As the German Chancellor Merz said last week, Israel is doing the dirty work of Europe. No, Mr. Chancellor. Israel is doing the cleaning up work for Europe. Israel is rectifying the mistakes of Europe. For what Europe has failed to do as it loses its identity, its independence, its treasures, its past, and regrettably its future. The European Three finally had the courage to challenge Iran at the International Atomic Energy Agency At long last, they recognize the gross violations that have been going on for all of these years by Iran, and they bring up a resolution which ultimately passed. But they didn't have the conviction to bring it to the United Nations Security Council, nor to impose violations. They're always 1 pound too short. And so there was no consequences, and Iran could have moved ahead. But somehow, other things intervene. When the United States and Israel stand together, like they did now, everything is possible. God smiles down when he sees his favorite children coming together to fight the evil and dangers that is a blight on our world. I believe there is more to come, and I believe it will be very soon. A new era may be dawning, broadening the prospects of peace for your children, for your grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren. They will be regaled by the stories and the exploits of these days. We hardly even know the surface of how much was done, how much was achieved, how for years Israel and America planned together, worked together, and the world didn't know. Leading up to this momentous time, it is the making of legends and many movies. In olden days, there would have been prophetic versions and visions written about. CUFI's work has only begun. We need your voices to be heard in the administration to stay the course, to counter those who seek to compromise President Trump's vision, who have neo-isolationist tendencies, who try to influence decisions. We saw last week President Trump clearly gets it. He did not, he publicly let it be known that the, quote, nutty importunings of a hostile media creator and the plain wrong assessment of an official in his government would not determine his decisions. He did the right things for the right reasons in the right way. And in coordinating and cooperating with Israel, the United States' most reliable ally, and I differ with Jonathan, not in the Middle East, in the entire world. And although it is disturbing and revolting that Ayatollah Khomeini threatens President Trump from his mouse hole in that bunker, I think it's a bright badge of honor for the president. It says you're on the right track. They tried before and failed, and they will try again, and they will fail, God willing. Note all the wild-eyed threats of the Ayatollahs, conveying to the world the message of what they would do and how they would wipe us out and all the consequences that would come. He sits 30 meters below ground, and President Trump travels freely around the world, spreading the message of hope. Because they got away for it too long without retribution. They did not hide their sins. They promoted, they told everybody, we're enriching, and they're enriching far beyond the limits that they were allowed to. And they had much more, 400 kilograms of enriched uranium. The people of Iran want this yoke of oppression removed. They want to live, produce, get a real education. Look how many of the young people have left, the brain drain. They want to come to the United States. They want to do business with us. Their currency now is 1 million to the dollar. And the sanctions are working. But we have to continue them. We shouldn't back off. Now's the time to put the pressure until this horrendous regime is no more and the people of Iran can emerge in a brighter day, that the Kurds, the Christians, the Ahwaz, the Azeris, the Baluchis, all of them will be truly free. And the regime that killed 1,000 people this year by execution, and just in recent days executed many more for allegedly being part of a spy network, and believe me, they have no clue who's part of the spy network. The same body that is elected to the Human Rights Council of the United Nations, because they're such protectors of human rights, condemning Israel daily, for defending the world against the barbarous terrorist machines, these enemies, aided and abetted by Iran, supported by Qatar, Turkey, and others, going to opine on Iran when are they going to opine on their executions of Christians, Baha'is, Kurds, and so many more? The silence is deafening. And just a word about Jew hatred. Antisemitism is too an antiseptic a term. We should say it is Jew hatred. The truth is that this is about God hatred, not Jew hatred. That those who hate the Jews is because they hate God. You can't hate the Jews without hating Jesus. I've spoken to you about this for many years, and the Hegys have been one of the most responsive voices, making it heard and warning and sounding the warning, but the world didn't want to hear it, or they couldn't see it. It is too easy when the Jews are the victims. They say we're the canary in the mine. Well, I'm tired of it. I don't want to be the experiment anymore. And I don't want a world building memorials to dead Jews. I want them to stand up for living Jews and a living Jewish state. No more crocodile tears. If you're serious, show it. And we know that although when Jews are the first victims, they're never the last. Anti-Semitism is corrosive and it eats the societies that tolerate it. They get consumed by it. And Jew hatred is a symptom of a wider malaise in our societies, in our communities, in our universities, in our business, in our entertainment, in our sports, in every sector. When we send kindergarten to 12th grade curricula, so corrupt, so negative, that children in kindergartens are taught not the wheels on the bus, but the wheels on the tank, and are taken out to march at synagogues against Israel. It's intolerable. And the unions and all of those who back these curriculum have to be held to account. No more toleration of it. Our schools have to be redeemed and taken back. No more foreign money in our universities. No more buying the conscience of America. And it is a generational thing because we have a generation that doesn't know history, doesn't know geography, doesn't know anything, and become victim to these false messages and easily rally to the causes. But when they're asked to explain what does it mean, they haven't got a clue. That a national party in the United States seemed to think that Corbynism is a model is really a regrettable comment. I have much more to say, and I don't have time to say it, and I know that there's one person who is already getting angry at me, so I'm going to skip a few things. We will not let the Jew haters define us. While who we are as a people, as believers, as thoughtful, committed citizens, as bearers of a tradition 3,000 years old, as contributors to every society in which we lived, we are defined by the positive of our glorious past and a glorious future. Never again must be a pledge, not just a hollow one, but a sincere one to act, not to tolerate, not to acquiesce, not to give in to the common thing, but to stand up, as Pastor Hegy did when the university in Texas was about to adopt a resolution. If it weren't for him, that would have passed. And many others then followed suit. We have to stand up and say, these are the principles, because we will live or we will die by them. And we have too many historical examples of it. We have to safeguard the future for our children and their children. It's a collective future. We are all on the same boat, or maybe the same B-2. Elie Wiesel told the story of a poet whose house was burning, and they asked him, what would you like to save from your house? And he said, the fire. We need to infuse our work with renewed passion, dedication. The greater the threats, the greater the response. We cannot afford two things, apathy and indifference. Someone was once asked to define what's the difference between indifference and apathy, and he said, I don't know and I don't care. So, the rest of you will get it later and it'll be okay. We have to show the one great God that we warrant being a generation of miracles, that we see his hand in the amazing achievements against the evil forces, and he will bless us with success in meeting all of the challenges that we hold in common. May he protect all who are fighting on the fronts at home and abroad. May he bless President Trump, the government and people of the United States, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the government and people of Israel. And may he bless all of you. May you have the fire in your hearts and in your souls to continue the battle. CUFI is more important than ever. It has to unite us, motivate us, and direct us, to remind us of our sacred duties, not to stand idly by the blood of our brothers. It is each of our responsibilities, and each of us has to define what our collective obligation is. When the Jews faced the giant with the entry into the land, and the spies came back and they said, the 10 said, but we are like grasshoppers in their eyes. The giants didn't say it, they said it. Because if we see ourselves as grasshoppers, we will not overcome. When we realize you are the giants, we are the giants. They showed it when little Israel stands against countries 20, 40, 60, 100 times its size. It shows we are not the grasshoppers because we have the ultimate ally. We can overcome every challenge. And as I end each year, how many of you now can name the 10 who came back with a negative report? Who can name the 2 who came back with a positive report? That's the lesson of history. Those who stand with Israel are remembered forever. Those who speak against Israel are written off to history. You will be remembered. Thank you.